Now I hope, unless Robin tells me otherwise, there's another Robin, I'm not talking to myself here, Robin Gardner, who makes all of the AV happen here, that we're going to make a very neat transition over to a conversation with, the President of Moldova. Madam President, thank you very much for joining us. Fantastic that we can have you with us today. President Maia Sandu of Moldova. It is uncannily important timing, not just because of the great challenges taking place, and great to have you with us on that front, but I do believe the European Council today is reviewing the European Commission's recommendation that Moldova, along with Ukraine, should be given candidate status formally for future membership of the European Union. So I'm sure you're keeping a very close eye on your iPhone and your other means of communication to see how that's going. But we have the advantage of having you with us today. Just so I said, everyone here at this conference is aware. They can look at your bio in the pack that we have here, but you became president in December 2020, Moldova's first female president, so congratulations on that front. You've served as Minister of Education, but you formed your own political party, the Party of Action and Solidarity, became Prime Minister in 2019, having also had some experience prior to that as an advisor in the World Bank. But I think we're struck by the very strong line that you've taken about trying to take Moldova into the broader European family, certainly the legal and political structures that we associate with EU membership. So my first question to you, if I may, Madam President, is to ask you about whether you believe this offer from the EU can make a difference for Moldova in the near term, or is it going to be more pressure on you of expectations that cannot be met? Could you just say a word to us first, if you don't mind, on what this offer means for Moldova? Over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you for offering me the possibility to speak about Moldova during these very difficult times. Indeed, it is an important day, though we don't know whether the decision of the European Council is going to be made today or tomorrow. But these are important days, and we do hope that we will get a positive decision by the European Council. And yes, this is going to help us. A positive reply from the EU is going to help us. And though we understand that this is just one step, but it opens the door, it gives us the chance, and it gives us the positive news. We call it the light at the end of the tunnel, because these days the situation is very difficult. Of course, the situation is extremely difficult for Ukraine, but the situation is also difficult for Moldova, because Moldova is a vulnerable country. The situation, the geopolitical situation in the region is very tough. The security risks are growing for our country, which makes it difficult to convince Moldovans that the situation can improve soon enough, that we can actually build a safe country, a country with economic opportunities. So anchoring the country in the EU space with this first step, which would mean to get the candidate status, would provide us with the with the certainty or more certainty that one day we can become part of a safer world, which means EU, and that we will succeed to defend our democracy. Because otherwise, consolidating the democracy in my country, in this part of the region, during these difficult times, is quite a challenge. So we're not looking for shortcuts, but we do need this positive decision to make people believe that, yes, we will be successful in our endeavors.
Thank you for that comment. And as you said, it provides a framework within which the Moldovan people can perhaps, as you said, look to a better future through what is a very, very difficult period. I mean, I think people don't fully appreciate how complex the situation Moldova is in. Just a few years ago, it would have been inconceivable that the EU would consider offering a membership pathway to a country that itself is still got a split within it. And people have been discovering through the Ukraine conflict the reality of Transnistria, which in a way separated, if that's the right term to use, from Moldova right around the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union. And obviously the position that Moldova has taken to date has been, and this is a question as a statement, has been cautious, careful, very careful about whether to call it an occupation or not. Obviously there are Russian troops based, therefore, on Moldovan territory in Transnistria. You have a commitment to neutrality in your constitution. I know there's some debate about some people are trying to strengthen right now that commitment to neutrality, and your government, I think, has opposed this terminology of permanent neutrality. But could you just say a word or two about the dynamics inside Moldova, and are these being deepened? Are some of the divisions being deepened by the war in Ukraine? How difficult a balance is this for you as president to kind of hold the country together, if I may say, through this particular moment?
Indeed, the society has been divided over the years, but at the same time, we have managed to preserve democracy. Of course, our democracy is still fragile, but we are proud that we have managed to change power through peaceful elections. And Moldovans have never allowed governments which attempted to become authoritarian to actually settle in for a long time. So despite the divisions, despite the propaganda, and the propaganda is still a big issue, even though the current government and the parliament are trying to reduce its impact, including by prohibiting some of the propaganda channels, external propaganda channels. But still, the country has been fighting for democracy all these years, despite all the problems, internal challenges, external challenges. Yes, we do have the problem of Transnistria, and we have always, regardless of the people in power, we have been always calling for Russia to withdraw its troops from Moldova because their stationing are illegal. Of course, we haven't managed to solve this issue until now, but this is a very clear policy of the country which has been always there and continues to be the same. We do have the neutrality in the constitution, and we respect the neutrality. Again, if you go back to what people believe about neutrality, we still have a big part of the society which supports neutrality, but during these difficult times since the Russian aggression against Ukraine started, we have more people asking themselves whether neutrality is going to be good enough to keep the country out of the war. And we do see people changing their views. We have always had an important share of people looking towards EU. The support for EU is almost 70%. Sometimes this would change because of the government, because sometimes we had the so-called pro-European governments, which would call themselves pro-European, but would not run the country in a pro-European way. And by disappointing people, we could see from time to time this support for EU integration going down. But now we have a very strong popular support for that. So yes, we still have people looking towards Russia, but more and more people are asking themselves what's happening there, and they understand much better who is to be blamed now for this war in Ukraine. And also because we have been receiving so many refugees, and people can get stories from from first hand on how difficult, how bad things are in Ukraine because of this Russian war. So things are difficult. We have our internal challenges. The external challenges are really big. We were hoping when we came to power that we will have the chance to focus on internal challenges, to strengthen the institutions, to deal with corruption. We still have this issue of the crooks, the big crooks who left the country, but who are still trying to undermine our efforts to reform justice, to fight corruption. And of course, they are using this difficult external environment to pursue their objectives. But again, it's very clear that this country wants to become part of EU. This country values democracy, and we have been fighting for democracy all these 3 decades.
Just thank you very much. If I may ask one more question to you now, then I'm to invite a couple of questions from the floor. We've only got another 10 minutes to 11:15, our time. But you mentioned right there, you talked about the crooks outside the country. You will have seen that, and I'm sure you watched very closely, that Kirill Petkov, the Prime Minister of Bulgaria, lost by a tight margin, but nonetheless lost a no-confidence vote yesterday. He had made anti-corruption his absolutely primary role, huge public support for that as well, but it is a very difficult process to push through. And I'm just wondering if you could say something about you also, if I may say, as a female leader, bringing maybe a different style of politics to Moldova. There are the forces that want things to be the way they were before. When you look at what's happening in Bulgaria, the experiences you are having in Moldova, do you believe you can win? Is there a different demand at the popular level? And do the institutions, are they strong enough to help you survive and achieve what you want?
Well, luckily we have more political support because we have a majority in parliament which is formed of honest people, and this means that we have the political support to implement reforms, but this still is not easy because then we have the institutions, the courts, the prosecutors, other institutions which are meant to prevent and to combat corruption, which have been in a corrupt environment for 3 decades. And it's not that you can change this overnight. So the first thing that we have to do, and we are trying to do now, is to clean up the system, to have this external, extraordinary evaluation of judges and prosecutors. Then the next question is, where do you find the new people, the new judges, the new prosecutors? And then it takes time to build capacity. So this is why, and we're going to do this, but in the meantime, we have to fight with crooks who stole almost billions of euros from this poor country, and they can afford the best lawyers in the world, and they're hiding, including in UK. So, you know, it's pretty difficult for a prosecution of Moldova, which is under reforms and which is not going to become very strong in a couple of months because institution building takes time. It's difficult to deal with these cases. Yep. That's why we need external support, because in UK you have strong prosecutors, and this is not just UK. This is about the consolidated democracies in general, because in many cases, the money stolen from Moldova or from other fragile democracies, they end up in countries with consolidated democracies. And there should be a global effort, if you want, or at least an effort of those countries which understand how important it is for us to be able to stop these corruption cases, because then you know, we lose billions, and then we come to the development partners asking for support to deal now with the energy crisis and many other problems. So it's in the interest of both parts to have better cooperation and to fight the dirty money, and for the developed countries, for the consolidated democracies, not to accept the money stolen from fragile democracies.
Well, thank you for that point, and it's an area that I'm proud to say that parts of Chatham House have done some important work on recently. We called it out. We were colleagues here who are also in the room, London's kleptocracy problem. So these things do exist. Now, I've got time for literally 2 questions. I've seen 2 hands go up, so I'm going here. I may be able to get a third one, because actually I'll cheat and take one Chatham House one. Right there, and a lady there. Let me just see how I'm doing. Yes, okay, right. Can you all be very quick, because I can see people are all going to make good comments. They may, hopefully, Madam President, there won't be questions. Some of them will be comments. Please, go ahead.
President Sandu, thank you very much for your time. I want to ask, my name is Amanda Coakley from Foreign Policy magazine. I want to ask about the 5+2, the future of the 5+2. I don't see how it can continue in its current format, given Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What conversations are you having in Chisinau about an alternative? Should Romania have a role in any future negotiations about solving the Transnistria problem? I know you're going to say that you need support from Tiraspol as well, but I just want your thoughts on the future of the 5+2 and changes that have to be made to the format.
If you're right, Madam President, I will group them together and I'll let you answer them at the end. Yes, please, there was a second question. The lady was there. Could you put your hand up again? Who was the person who had their hand up there? Oh, never mind, we'll take that gentleman at the back. Yeah, James. I thought I saw two hands.
Good morning, good afternoon, Madam President. James Nixie, Chatham House. Where do you stand, please, on the need to retain bridges or links with a regime in Russia, as opposed to the opposite, and the need to isolate? Where's the balance there for you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now see where the person was at the front. Can you just bring the microphone down here, and then we'll need a microphone in that corner. So could you go over to that corner, Chris? Thanks. Yeah, please go ahead. Watch out, where the microphone's coming down. We mustn't knock people's heads off as we do them. Go ahead.
Lepusa Vagnanoska from North Macedonia. We are a country that is quite experienced with the EU accession process. We obtained the status of candidate country more than 15 years ago, but still have not started the accession negotiations, not on the basis of the fulfillment of Copenhagen criteria, but due to bilateral issues that are hijacking the Europeanization process. So this is one of the questions that are on the table in Brussels these days, and I would be grateful to hear your thoughts on the EU enlargement policy towards my country, North Macedonia, and the Western Balkans, also in the context of the European perspective of Moldova. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tim, yeah, please, Timothy Gartnash.
Timothy Gartnash, Oxford University. Madam President, I hope very much the European Council will endorse the candidacies of Ukraine and Moldova this week. You used a very interesting formulation when you were talking about it. You said, if I heard you right, that this will take us into a safer world. Could you explain to us why EU membership will make Moldova safer? Are you seeing it as a kind of partial security guarantee?
Heather, very tight, yep.
Hello, Heather Gravy from Open Society. So one of Moldova's major problems is nearly 100% dependency on Russian gas and oil. How can the European Union and the accession process help to reduce that rather quickly? There's been some progress already on electricity and on reverse gas flows, but could Moldova joining the European Green Deal ahead of accession be a way out? Thank you.
I think I should have just not asked any questions at the beginning, unless those be asked, because they were much better than mine. Madam President, why don't I let you, as quickly as you have on time, because I know we're taking up your time as well, I'll let you run through those as best you can.
Thank you very much. On 5+2 format, indeed, it is difficult to see now how this is going to be functional after the war. Of course, there are no any discussions now. There are direct discussions between Chisinau and Tiraspol, because we are very interested to keep the situation stable, not to have any provocations, because we're trying to maintain peace here. But then, of course, after the war, we'll see what's the format and how we can deal with the Transnistrian problem. On the need to retain bridges with Russia, we have had the conversations through our ambassadors, like the ambassador in Russia and then the Russian ambassador in Moldova, on the basic problems. So there hasn't been really much in terms of communicating with Russia after they invaded Ukraine. We still continue to buy gas from Russia. Otherwise, our trade relations have been going down dramatically in terms of Moldovan exports to Russia and imports from Russia. So there is a huge adjustment and reorientation of trade from the East markets to the West, and we are grateful for the recent decision of the EU, which allows us to increase some quotas. We have been implementing the financial sanctions. We have been supporting the decisions at the UN and in other diplomatic formats to support Ukraine. So today we have the minimum dialogue, and we're not sure whether the contract on gas will be extended after September, because we haven't been receiving any clear information from Gazprom. And on dependency on gas and electricity, for the gas supply, we do have the technical connection. So we have the technical connection to Ukraine and to Romania. The problem now is to find the supplier which could supply us gas at a decent price. So the market price is the big issue. on electricity is more difficult because as of now, we're totally dependent on the power generation in Transnistria, which is not controlled by the constitutional institutions of Moldova. And we are building the connection, the line with Romania, but we just started the project. We started the project last summer, and this project is going to be ready in a couple of years. So this is a very problematic area. And of course, we're interested in investing in green energy, but this again is going to take time. We're going to do that because we hope that the country will have energy independence at least 5 years from now. But for now, energy is a very, very complicated problem for us because of the high prices and because of dependence on electricity. On the issue of accession of North Macedonia, I know I was recently in a discussion with leaders of the Western Balkans, and I understand the questions and the frustrations, and I do hope that the process is going to move forward. I do believe that the accession should be about meritocracy, and those countries which are ready to move to the next step, they should be allowed to do so. So I wish you good luck. And on whether the EU is going to provide us partial security, yes, we do believe that advancing on the EU path will provide at least partial safety, and that's why we actually submitted the application in such a dramatic moment after Russia invaded Ukraine.
Madam President, wow, that was an incredibly impressive set of answers. At 11:16, I'm looking at my panel here. I'm sure you do that even if you don't have another important meeting to go to. Look, I think you can't see the room here except through your screen, but I think there's a huge interest in your country and huge support for what you're trying to achieve as well. And we very much appreciate you taking the time, and I think it does make us realize we're in real-time changes taking place right now, not just at the big geopolitical level we discussed just now about China and Russia, but really for individual countries, and I might say also for leaders who bring integrity to the process. So thank you very much for your time. Please, a very strong hand for the Madam President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a coffee break. You've earned it.